Coach, thanks for joining us to another edition of Tiger Talk. And, I was thinking about this when we were setting up this interview. This is probably the first time in your entire memory that you were not involved in a football game this past weekend, because with your father being a high school coach, I have a feeling you were in the stands at 2 years old. And probably the first time in forever that you haven't been involved in a football game on Labor Day weekend.
It's true. One of my first memories ever. Like, think about when you're really, really young. I can remember a drive-in movie with my parents once. I remember that. But top 5 first memories, high school football game. And I had to be no older than 3, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, this is 2020 has been a rough year. It's taken a lot from us, but it's also reminded us what's important.
Well, and I guess the silver lining for many people is you're getting to spend more time with your family than you normally would in a normal situation.
I am. I told my wife when we met, I said, look, this is not what I do for a living. This is who I am. And if that's an issue for you, then you probably need to go somewhere else. Like, I don't turn this off when I go to bed. I'm constantly thinking about the kids. I'm constantly thinking about ways to help them, ways that they can get better, problems that they have that they need to solve. Constantly. And football is just the game of football is just a tool for that. When you don't have it, there's a big hole. And I'm just kind of impressed that she can handle putting up with me that much, because after 20-some years of being together, I've never been in the house this much. And she still likes me, or at least she pretends to.
Well, that's good. That's good. How about the kids? They still like you?
Well, thank God for school. How about that?
All right. So what is going on? The students are not on campus now. How do you communicate with your team? What is happening with the football team at this point?
Well, mostly virtual still, although the staff is in the office, like half days or something like that, in a way that, so we have a physical presence here. And we did actually have a staff meeting that was the entire staff, and we've got the biggest room in the building and masked up, and everything is kind of interesting and different. But we accomplished a lot of stuff. Right now we're in a training phase. We just went through a medical phase where when we brought them back to school, we retested them all, and I'm pretty pleased with, we had 90 some guys and a limited number of positive tests. And even those limited number of positive tests, I think you've heard of the president, they're not coming from some big party like you see on TV. They're usually coming from a friend from home, and my girlfriend's sister got it, kind of thing. So I'm pleased with that, and we're progressing. We're working towards a training phase where Coach Lima's got them, and he's breaking them down again. We've been off schedule for quite some time, and as much as the workouts that you do, and everybody at home can understand this, if you ever worked with a trainer before and then you worked out on your own, you get more work out of your workouts with your trainer than you do by yourself. And, as much as we did some creative stuff for the last couple of months, trying to not atrophy and not go back, you can see it. There's a difference, and the kids can feel it. So they're grateful to be back on campus, having the opportunity to train together. And then the details of it, we're working through the NCAA guidelines on when we will be allowed to actually practice football again. And a lot of it has to do with state, local regulations and university regulations, but we need some kind of guidance from the NCAA, as we're not playing in a season, of what we're allowed to do, how many practices we can actually practice, that kind of thing. So that's been a scheduling nightmare. Somebody like me, that's what you do. You plan so you're organized, and every time we plan something, there's an entity above us somewhere that decides to change the channel, change the street we're on, change the concept. So, but we're getting there. We're actually moving forward.
One thing that is going to come out of this is there are so many student athletes that this was going to be their final year. And now the NCAA, from all indications, is going to let everybody have an extra year. But for a lot of guys, they may want to move on with their life, and if they're not going to play football at a professional level, that maybe they want to get on with their life's work, whatever that may be. For you as a coach, how much do you are you going to have to sit down with your seniors and figure out their path forward?
Well, we've had lots of conversations, and with the possibilities of with the possibilities, but without the information and the knowledge. What I mean is everybody talked about, hey, we're going to play football in the spring. Don't worry about it. We'll just move this to the spring. And I'll say, the first person to ever say that has no idea what we do. They don't. They have no idea what the life of a student athlete is. They have no idea what the student athlete calendar is, or recruiting calendars, or graduation calendars. A bunch of how you plan your academic career as a student athlete is based on some certain set pillars. And now when you try to move the pillars, you mess everything up. And it's not a comment that should have been said without more thought. But in an effort to work through that, we clearly are doing that with some of those problems in hand. Being a fifth-year senior, being a senior in any way, shape, or form, the next step of your life. Some of the guys still wanted to have an opportunity to keep playing. Like Shane's down at UVA. Ricky DeBerry's taking a semester off to kind of figure it out, but he's already got his undergraduate degree and his master's degree. So I've got guys who were going to do their student teaching in the spring, which means they'd never be around, ever. They planned on being done. So the good news is the clock is extended for everyone, that this year does not count eligibility-wise for any fall sport athlete at all. So you get a complete do-over. But there are challenges that go with that as well. We were to keep all the scholarship players all the way through next fall past their graduation dates. And I'm only talking about playing in the fall. If we're going to keep that, well, there's a whole bunch of freshmen that can't. It's not like they're going to give me more scholarships. So the budget is the budget. The scholarships are the scholarships.
Right.
So, those guys are going to have the opportunity to keep playing, but it's really going to steal some opportunities from kids coming out of high school right now. That truly is a challenge. And when you talk about the fifth-year kid or the graduating kid, and they talk about a spring season, which is kind of neat and interesting right until you think about injuries. And we're playing a full slated schedule in 21. North Dakota State comes here. Unheard of.
Right.
North Dakota State's going to come here. Almost to a man, any player that's ever donned a uniform that's in this program currently does not want to trade in a truncated spring schedule with a crappy playoffs that play 6 games and play. They don't really want to do that and put their last full year opportunity on the line. When you get injured in the fall, you have a tremendous opportunity throughout the year to rehab yourself to be able to play the next year.
Right.
If you get beat up in the spring, you lose the fall. And imagine a fifth-year senior who this would have been his last fall. So goes and try, but he knows he can play next fall because we've extended the calendar in the eligibility cycle. And then goes and plays 3 games in the spring, gets hurt, and loses his last year in the fall against a team like San Diego State or Morgan or North Dakota State. So it's a challenging time. It really is to manage all that. And from my perspective, you talk about managing a 4 or 5 year cycle. Now you're talking about managing a 5, 6, or 7 year cycle.
Right.
It's different.
And those are the things that nobody talks about when they do these stories about spring football or whatever.
A whole lot of people talking about a whole lot of stuff that they don't have detailed knowledge about.
Right. Well, Coach, we appreciate the time. Good health to you and your family, and hopefully we will catch up very soon.
Thank you very much. And I'd recommend everybody cheer these kids on, all of them, all these sports. That every single student athlete at every level, all over the country, is struggling. Nothing's normal. Nothing's easy. Everything's hard. We're all on edge. We're all a little stressed. We've all been doing this for months and months and months. Pat those kids on the back. Tell them you love them. Tell them you understand what they're going through. And this is not the end. This is a tunnel, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. And for all of us, whatever it is that we're all going through, it's going to get better. It is. It's a toughness test. So I'm rooting for everybody.
All right, Coach. Thank you.